But the question is the offensive line good?
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part Locked On Podcast over your team every single day. He is Daniel. I'm Clint. Together, Confluence is Locked On Bulldogs. We have a simple question for you. It's a simple question with massive implications, ramifications.
Well,
especially on the emotional well-being of two people that I know very well.
Yeah.
And
By the way, today's episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. So more on them in a moment. FanDuel.com. What's the question? What's the question, Clint?
How important, really this question is, how vital is the talent cohesion level of offensive line for a national championship run? Maybe let's start there, Daniel. What level must an offensive line have to be, or has been the last 5 years? We talk a lot about defenses being the top five that won national championships. Of those, where was the offensive line? Where was the basement of those offensive lines? And then we'll apply it to Georgia.
Yeah. How important is air for you to get by in this life? How important is, food and water, shelter? These are the offensive line is, it really is critical. If you can't run the ball, you can't control the game. You are at the mercy of the ebbs and flows of the game. You have no ability to take over a game, meaning the other team's always in it, right? If you can't protect the quarterback, you can't move the ball explosively down the field. You can't hit big plays. Eventually, drives are going to stall out. You're going to turn the ball over. You're not going to be able to score points if you can't protect the quarterback. The offensive line is, without a doubt, the most important position group on the offense. Way more important than quarterback. Way more important than wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. So I don't know that you have to have. I don't know that you need to have a top 2 offensive line in all of college football, right? Like Georgia in its championship years, 2021, 2022, did have a top 1 or 2 offensive line in all of college football. You look at the postseason awards given out, you look at all of the team rankings, you look at all the metrics, all of the units, like Georgia did. I don't know that you have to in order to win. I don't know that Ohio State last year had a elite offensive line, but you can't have a average offensive line and win a national championship, Clint.
We're going to come back after this, and I'm going to come directly at my man and see what he has to say about it. But first, these. And these are, in fact, DoorDash. Daniel, DoorDash is fantastic. They're great. You should get over there right now, because right now, DoorDash is doing streaks, much like Kirby Smart at home, when he is just winning time and time and time again. It's incredible what he's able to do. DoorDash has its own streak, just like Kristen Miller is somebody who shows up every single week for Georgia. Fourth quarter doesn't matter. Goal line stop doesn't matter. He is always there. Kristen Miller is on a streak. And just like Kristen Miller delivered for Georgia every single week, DoorDash delivers for you Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You can save every single Saturday on your order. Stack it up all season long. You could win, or you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo is through November 18th, but that's not it, Daniel. We also have our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel's fantastic. You should love them. We love them. Get over there right now, because it's making sure that every single kickoff is a can't miss offer right now. New customers get $5 bet if it wins. Boom, $300 in bonus bets, which come back for locks because you're going to want to go ahead and see that. We love using FanDuel because however we want to bet, props, parlays, live action, FanDuel has us. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now. Visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Daniel, you talked about it has to be an average unit.
Has to be above average.
Here's what I'm just going to do right now for you. I'm going to go the rating system. And we could talk about how we're rating offensive line. That's a conversation I'm willing to have. What metric we're using, I have no problem with that. But according to Pro Football Focus, I'm going to give you the top offensive lines entering this season based upon rankings, recruiting, everything that Pro Football Focus had. Number 1 offensive line in the entire nation, according to metrics and rating, Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 2, Utah Utes. Number 3, Texas A&M. Number 4, Florida. Number 5, Oregon. 6, Iowa. 7, and I'm not kidding you when I say this, the let's give up every sack imaginable up in Norman, Auburn Tiger offensive line. 8, Miami. 9, Notre Dame. And 10, Clemson. That's every metric available to us, saying the best offensive lines in the entire nation are actually on horrible teams. Let me tell you the horrible teams. Clemson, horrible team. Notre Dame, not very good. Miami, okay, I'll give you that one. Auburn, oh, no. Don't even give me that. Iowa, maybe. Oregon, yet to be determined. Florida, nah. They're okay, but they're not running the ball great. A&M, okay, maybe. Utah just got beat the heck out of the building, and Alabama can't run the ball to save their life. Daniel, the question for me is, how does one determine what an average offensive line is? I'm not refuting that. What I am refuting is saying, just like last year when it was like, well, we have all these incredible draft eligible players. But we sucked running the ball and we couldn't protect anybody and we couldn't run the ball. We didn't play as a team at all.
I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but you did just give me a list of preseason projections.
But based upon Pro Football Focus numbers of returning and recruitment. So returning numbers coming back in and recruitment.
That doesn't mean anything. How did they actually perform?
That's what they're doing last year's performance. Yes, they are. They're going, here's who was good last year.
That's not how college football works. If we need to talk about returning production and how it's a completely meaningless statistic in modern college football, we can. But what you gave me were preseason projections. What I'm looking for is, how does an offensive line actually perform? Like Ohio State's offensive line last year was above average. Like, they were a quality offensive line. Yes. And Michigan's the year before was a quality offensive line. And Georgia's the year before that was a great to elite offensive line. Last year, Ohio State, just for some like metrics here. Last year, Ohio State finished 13th nationally in quarterback sack percentage and 20th nationally in rushing yards per attempt. So you want two very basic metrics of how an offensive line performed. Out of 130 teams, they were in the top, the top quarter, the top fifth of every team in college football in the most basic fundamental aspects to an offensive line. What I'm telling you is that if Georgia has an average to below average offensive line based on the way they perform, not based on their recruiting rankings and all of that nonsense, based on the way they perform, Georgia ain't doing anything. They're not going to do anything in this. Now, I'm not saying that's who Georgia has.
Okay.
But I am going to come back in the third segment and give you something that I think, at least early in the season, should give you pause. It should give you concern that that's on the table. for who this Georgia offensive line is. And it starts, Clint, with what you just said. Georgia last year had a really bad offensive line. They were bad.
Yeah.
And I watched Monday Night Football on Monday while we're on the subject, and I watched Tate Ratledge bully professional football players up and down the field.
Manhandle.
He couldn't move anyone last year for the University of Georgia, even when he was healthy. So there were problems on the Georgia offensive line last year. Now, some of that production returns this year, and the pieces that are added, there's injury concerns. I'm going to talk the concerns on the offensive line when we come back, and Clint and I will establish what is the ceiling for this Georgia offensive line. Do we think that a good to very good offensive line that Georgia would need to be a championship caliber team is possible for this unit? We'll talk about that and more when we come back from these.
But I'll let you know about Mazda. Move and be moved. Mazda's fantastic because it's about redefining the moments that do not just point, but rather they move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. Look, the thing that moved me this last week was thinking about Zachariah Branch taking another long run down the sideline as he whizzes past the entire Alabama defense to the glorious land of touchdown. That's what I keep on thinking about. And just like Mazda, when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. It's really interesting to me that I'm not refuting what you're saying. I am very curious because I have a definition for what a good offensive line is.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear what you're talking about. These early indications comparing last year.
Well,
what we're seeing this year.
No, I think my indications are they're a little bit more. They're not as tangible. They're a little bit more feelings based.
I'm fine with that. For
I'm gonna go to some Kirby's here. I'm gonna dive into Kirby's as Kirby's addressing the media. There's a difference. So Kirby's asked questions about what are the two position groups, Clint, that clearly need to shore themselves up on this Georgia football team.
It's offensive line and defensive back.
And the secondary. He's asked questions about both of those position groups, as you would imagine, many times over the bye week and now this week leading up to Alabama. There is a marked difference in the way he answers the questions when it comes to defensive backs and when it comes to offensive line. When Kirby talks about defensive backs, he speaks with almost an annoyed confidence.
Yep.
That he knows that this group is going to get it figured out. He likes a lot of the things that happen in coverage. He thinks, got to make plays on the ball, but he's not all that concerned about it. It gives me, as a Georgia fan, great confidence to think that these Georgia defensive backs are going to be up to the challenge on Saturday against Alabama. So Georgia fans, you should feel the same way. When he talks about the offensive line, Clinton, there's something a little bit different in his tone. He's asked a question, for example, like, can you give us an update on the right side of the offensive line's getting healthy? And he says, well, the right side of the offensive line needs to get better. They don't just need to get healthy. They need to get better. And it's not just the right side of the offensive line. It's the entire offensive line, right, left, center. We've got to get a lot better on the offensive line. We're working in the bye week to get guys reps so that we can get better. I still don't know if Kirby Smart knows who his 5 best guys are. And
we don't. We don't.
Yeah. So if that doesn't make you think that a below average offensive line is on the table, Clint, I'm not saying certain, but if that doesn't make you think it's not on the table, I don't know what to tell you.
Here's what I do know about offensive line play. And it's very frustrating for people because you're so used and accustomed looking at stat lines, and you can't do that with offensive line. You're so looking at Pro Football Focus and numbers, and you can't do that with offensive line. You're so accustomed to these stupid things. And with offensive line specifically, the unit itself is good or bad. It is not the individual parts. Last year, you can tell me we had great guys drafted. Okay. but the unit as a whole could not play together. Now, you could tell me that was because the running backs weren't doing things well, or Carson Beck wasn't reading and getting. There was zero leadership. There was zero understanding. There was zero comprehension on that offensive line. They were not playing as a unit. And of all the position groups, I'm trying to encourage you, casual football fan, to not single an offensive line guy out. Don't do it. There's a couple of times that you can do so in the most obvious senses. Okay. Monroe Freeling last year against Notre Dame gets beat off the edge so badly, no amount of unit help could have ever done anything to stop it. Okay. But if you're talking about good offensive lines, they gel together, they get together, and they have a cohesion that when it clicks, it clicks. Now, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, how could you have cohesion when you're not playing together?
This is the major problem. You're not on the field to actually do it. I'm here to tell you that of all the groups in the entire football, if you were telling me you only get one group to have no injury all year long, I'm telling you twice every day it's offensive line. Give me the same 5 guys. I don't care who the 5 guys are. Like, I don't care. Do they know their assignment? Do they play hard? Can they gel together? That's what I care about. And right now, question marks abound. We're going to be back next couple of days talking about locks, talking about everything else, because this Bama
official prediction for the game coming up Thursday morning.
We'll see you guys then.